All right, it's NT Loop Mini Arm Walkout. Let me show you how it's done, then we'll talk about a few details on how to do it. This is what it looks like. One more rep in real time. All right, now first, this exercise is hard enough in and of itself without the addition of the mini loop. Let's talk about what the mini loop does for you. It just brings in a little extra shoulder work because I'm pulling the mini loop apart. So I'm getting a little bit more of that rear delt, posterior shoulder cuff aspect of it. Now, the rest, by the way, if this is too much for you, you can do this without the NT Loop Mini. First off, let's talk about what's happening at the hips. You know how you do a kneeling push-up and you keep your body straight, you don't want to shoot your hips back? Same thing here. So one of the big mistakes is people do a good job of keeping the hips down here, but then what they do to come back is they shoot their hips back as they come back. Don't do that. Keep your hips in a straight line with your body the entire time, and especially as you come back. See that? Number two, your hands only come back to where your wrists are underneath your shoulders or underneath your nose or eye line. Obviously, I'm not letting my head sag, not letting my hips sag. How far out do you go, or you go, is relative to your ability. How do we gauge that? Well, if you go out this far and you're just sagging and you can't control it, that's as far as you go. So maybe this is your range of motion. If you have a little bit more core control and shoulder stability, you go out a little further. A little bit more, you go out a little further. The further out I crawl my arms, the harder I make it here, and the harder I make it on my shoulders, because my shoulders have to not only drive into the ground to keep me up, right? This is shoulder flexion, this is shoulder extension. So I'm working on overhead shoulder flexion, having to control an overhead position, driving down. And because I'm having, this is where the real big shoulder stability comes into play. Every time I take a step, look, I'm on one arm. I'm on one arm, I'm controlling my whole body. I'm stopping myself from rotating, I'm controlling my wrist, I'm controlling this movement, scapular control. So each time you shift, you do that step. This is why we're doing this with a step and not an ab roller. It's a different exercise. The ab roller gets as much ab as this. Maybe it could be argued a little more, a little less. Different video for a different day. But it's significant. But because you're stepping with your arms, you really bring in much more demand for your shoulders, and I just showed you why.